Finish what you start. Finish what you start. Every endeavor, every undertaking that we or any person takes involves a start and a finish. Finish what you start.
Super excited for you to join us again for another edition of Happy Hill, the podcast. Finish what you start. We got an awesome guest here. Been knowing this brother for quite some time, And again, finish what you start. This is pretty much a series that we have on the podcast. And this is where we talk to insightful individuals, unique individuals that are willing to share their how-tos, as well as their experiences that has helped them to finish what they start, to live a purpose-driven life. And this brother truly, I believe, embodies that. He is an entrepreneur. He is a creative leader. He's a cultural strategist. He's a husband. He's a father. He's a graduate of Winston-Salem State University. Come on, '04, class of '04. The best class. And man, this dude is a Brown Hall veteran, going back all the way to Brown Hall, fourth floor. Happy family. I want to give his man a warm welcome, Mr. Winston Robinson, better known as Wilmoe, Uncle West Side. Oh man, what's going on, Wilmoe?
My dog. First of all, let me say I appreciate you having me on here, man. Jay Murray, one of the most, just a legendary figure, man. One of the most creative dudes I know. He was out here painting. I didn't even know he was painting. He just popped up and gave Christmas gifts to people that, it was pictures that he painted. One was called Earth. I never forget that. But yeah, man, just such a light, such a beacon. One of the happiest people I know. Always such a joy to be around, man. I ain't gonna lie. One of the reasons, not to tell both our business, but we were supposed to both be Winston-Salem State class of 2003. However, we were having a good time, So now we are the illustrious class of 2004. That's a testimonial to the engagements and the type of fun we had, and I wouldn't do anything differently, man. So to see you with the podcast and your family, man, just who you are, establishing just so many things. I really appreciate the space you occupy, and I couldn't say anything bad about you, man. You're a hell of a brother, and thank you for inviting me on.
Hey, man.
Podcast.
Hey, dude, I really greatly appreciate that, man. Like, I'm gonna tell you this, man. The first time I saw Winston, I don't know if he knew this. I was at Myers Park. It was a basketball game. And I was at Myers Park. It was against Independence, right? And I don't know if it was some type of ceremony or prom thing that y'all was doing. Y'all was highlighting, king, queen. Yeah, and I remember this dude came out there with this blue tuxedo.
Powder blue.
like the dude off along with something about Sarah, you know what I'm saying? He had a powder blue suit, and I was like, man, who is this dude? Fast forward a couple months, this same dude on the same hall that I'm on, fourth floor Brown Hall, man, and that's when I knew, man, this dude was a colorful cat, man, a wonderful dude. Really, man, that right there kind of speaks to, man, that you have been consistent in that. You know what I'm saying? Being consistent and being who you are.
And foolishness.
You know what I'm saying? Being consistent into just like being a good dude, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Being a good dude, man. So I was like, man, who is this cat right here?
Yeah, man, it's been a lot of nonsense and foolishness going years back, man. Like I say, some of it I'm proud of. Well, some of it I won't mention again, however, but they all mark just kind of moments of my life, man. One thing about me, I just try to have fun in whatever I do.
Yeah,
Promise, so, why not have a a good time with. Even in that scenario, what it was backwards homecoming. You know, and I was one of the finalists, and I ended up losing to my homeboy. I forgot who won it, but it was my homeboy. But I had to keep that suit on for the rest of the night, and I done lost. So it's like, what you doing there?
Keep it on, huh?
Yeah, I got to sit there for the rest of the basketball game, and you know. But it's all in fun, man. It's good times, man. So anything I do, I try to approach it in good spirits, man.
Yeah.
Not to mention, Black people need joy. Black people need to have fun, morale. That's such an essential part that we underplay so often. So why not have fun with it?
Come on. So kind of starting there a little bit, man. You know what I'm saying? As far as like telling us a little bit about your upbringing, and the reason why I say that, man, is because I think the way that we have been brought up, you know what I'm saying, plays a big role into certain things we do now. And as I said before, and I'll be honest, happy family, I kind of, it was an understatement of all the accolades I could have provided to this brother as relates to the things that he's doing in the city, you know what I'm saying, into like, bringing people together, connecting people together, being, I would say, a historian as well. That's one thing I didn't mention as well, able to preserve the history, man. So tell the family a little bit about your upbringing, man, and how has that kind of helped to develop who you are today?
I wanted to say initially I had a typical Black upbringing.
Yeah.
However, we're not a monolith. So I don't know, but my Black experience shaped and molded the person who I am from a very specific set of circumstances.
Yeah.
I'm from the west side of Charlotte, born Southwest, now live in Northwest. When I mean Southwest, that's the West Boulevard area. I'm from Wilmore. However, the context of that to people who moved to Charlotte after 2012, they have no idea what that means, because Wilmore is a rich white neighborhood, basically. And, it was a much different Wilmore that I grew up in during 80s and 90s crack era. So, my father's an artist. My mother worked in insurance. My mother and your father, I believe, actually even went to school together at West Charlotte. So, just ties there. So, my grandparents co-founded First Mayfield Memorial Baptist Church on Oak Lawn. So stayed in the church all day, when I was little. I'm sure you know about that life too, child of a pastor. So and that's what I mean by, like, I have a set of circumstances that are uniquely Black that I believe a lot of people can identify within this realm. The reason I'm from Wilmore is because my parents had my sister, who's 9 years older than me, in 72. And they were living off Pitts Drive, actually, in Washington Heights. And my mom was pregnant with me, so they wanted to move into a bigger house. And Wilmore at the time was kind of what suburbia was to our age group. My parents moved to Wilmore. They were the third Black people on the street, just trying to chase the American dream. However, when, they Black asses got over it, excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't know this happy hood. But when they got, pardon me. But when those Black families came to the neighborhood, the white people said, "We out." It was like, we got to get out of here. Yeah. And when white people leave, so do the resources. And the neighborhood I grew up in, while it was sensationalized and it might be painted as bad, I was having the time of my life. Yeah. I loved my community. It was rich and dynamic. There were older Black people. There were kids my age, Black families, at least when I was younger. Then I began to get about 9, 10, 11. More Black families were moving out. More families who were renting homes were moving in. Still my friends, still, but the dynamic changed. It was less fathers, more single mothers. Still, I didn't know what that meant at such a young age. I didn't understand, but you could feel a change, or you could feel a shift in the class of people which occupied the space. Still all beautifully human. Yeah. However, the situations they lived in were different. And of course, I couldn't put that all together at the time. I'm a child. Sure. But you just kind of feel a difference from your friends at 7, 8, and your friends at 10 and 11.
Mhm.
So, however, as people move out, my parents felt the responsibility to stay. You know, we had built a community, and it was just so many beautiful elements about growing up in Wilmore that, you know, when I got to college, that became my nickname. You know,
Yeah.
everybody, when people, like, it became my nickname partly when people would ask where I'm from, like Wilmoe. I would treat an entirely different city, Winston-Salem, as I would when we go to East Lamar in the summers.
Mhm. East Lamar.
You holler at a group of girls, like, where y'all from?
Mhm.
Yeah, where y'all from? We from Wilmore.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
it wasn't different to me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man, I'm West Side proud, West Side strong. Again, a native of a different version of Wilmore, pre-light rail, pre Bank of America Stadium, pre-gentrification. Yeah. So, you know, again, that just facilitated a deeper level of pride in me
Yeah.
once you realize that no one cares about the people who I love so much.
Yeah.
So if nobody, you know, if the city will easily discard them and displace them, who's to fight for them? Who's to care about them?
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I've adopted that role, but I want you to know that I'm proud of where I am and who I am and where I come from.
Yeah, man. I think, man, that's totally, man. As you were speaking, a couple thoughts came to my mind, man. And one is the ability of humanizing a community, you know. And what I mean by that is, you know, I kind of grew up in that similar atmosphere. Only thing about it, my family, we moved to the east side, Milton Road, when I was like 5 years old. So we grew up in Druid Hills. You know, my grandmother was right on the corner, in which my grandfather, he built his house in Druid Hills after, you know, the urban renewal. People, you know, Black people was pushed out, you know, during the Brooklyn and some of the other places that was what people know as downtown or NASCAR, if you want to get a more specific location. But you know, growing up in that environment, we talking about far as, again, I was young, but able to just go to my neighbor's house. You know what I'm saying? Able to go down the street without my mom and dad kind of worrying about where's John, because they knew I was at so and so house, you know. And then when we moved to the other neighborhood on the east side, it was a little bit of similarity with that, because at that time you had some Blacks going out to those suburban areas. You know, when you think about like Milton Road and Harris Boulevard, man, they used to call that place like the boonies. You know, that was straight boonies. But as we start going over there, more and more Blacks start coming. And I guess my question to you, man, living in that and having that very, it was endearing for you to go through that process. Talk to us about a little bit about preservation, man, because I think one thing that you do is preserving the history and making sure that we can tell that story to our kids. And I'm wondering, was that also something that you was brought up and learned, like those lessons from your mom and dad or your grandparents around preserving, you know, preserving history, preserving what we do in order for us to make sure this stays one of our foundations?
So I don't know if it is as much preservation or the idea of accepting what we have and appreciating it and being happy with what we have.
Yeah.
So let me see if because I know people who are not from Charlotte will see this podcast. So let me try to put this in a way that's understandable across the board. So when you say y'all move from Druid Hills to the east side, that is a parallel move from my parents, because my sister's a bit older than you and, your older brother. That is a parallel move from them moving from Badersford Pitts Drive to Wilmore, because it was the land of opportunity. It's the, you know, you got to realize Housing Act just passed maybe not too much longer before this. So all of this shift is happening.
Yeah.
So, you know, now that Black people can live anywhere, there's an ideology that, you know, where whiteness is their resources.
Yeah.
So my parents like, oh, we can go to Wilmore? Yeah, and my dad grew up near Baltimore Avenue on South Side, so he always knew what Wilmore was. So it's like, wow, we can get over there and make a home and live this American dream.
Yeah.
That what was sold to them. So when they got over there, they realized, no. We don't want to be near y'all because y'all are black.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with laws. It has nothing to do with, well, it does. Everything has to do with laws and policy. But the ideology is, here in Wilmore, there was white flight happening because they knew that black people would buy these houses overpriced because they knew they could sell it to them, and they knew the neighborhood was shifting. And the thing about white flight is nothing takes flight unless it know it has somewhere to land. And the crazy thing is, my parents actually purchased their home from a black doctor. His name was John as well. And John's reasoning for selling his home is because there were too many black people. So, he wanted to be the one to, I'm not them niggas. I'm a doctor. I'm John.
Yeah.
But so he ended up, I just said the N-word. I'm so sorry.
You good, brother. You good.
But so he ended up selling that house to us, to my family, and he moved to what he thought was greener pastures. And he followed the white people, thinking, okay, we'll just all go together because I'm a part of this group. You know where he ended up moving?
Where?
For these Hampshire Hills.
Hampshire Hills.
So it's the same thing. He didn't realize he was running from what he was a part of. Like, you can't outrun yourself. So anywhere you go, this will happen. Yeah. So that's why, and I believe my parents realized that once they moved and saw the dynamics and realized these folks don't want them here. Yeah. They moved, they're cold to you, or they're standoffish. So you realize once this community becomes black, now it's the people you relate to. Now it's the people you can have a community with. And you don't want to abandon that. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, and that's like, even today, when people go house shopping, and when I say people, black people, a lot of us, we just look at the house, and how many bedrooms, and it just this beautiful home on the hill, which is important. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But when you buy a house, you buy a home, you buy a community, you buy people around it, you buy the idea of your peace, your comfort, somewhere you can, just call people friends. Yeah. You're buying into a community. And that is what is so important. So when I hold on to Wilmoe so strong, because that was my sense of community. My best friends growing up, I was literally a part of that family. All their cousins I know. You see what I'm saying? Because of that proximity. Yeah. And we can relate on levels. So it's not awkward when I go to their church, and visit them, and we have church lock-in, because we live in virtually the same experience. Yeah. And those are the things that are important. So when you chase the idea of a house as just this empty, extravagant box, you miss out on all of that. And those are the things that are really important. That's why I'm so big on community. Yeah. You feel me? So preserving the idea, and that's why I wanted to give my son. So when we bought our house, we could have lived anywhere in the city. We chose off Beatties Ford in McCrory Heights because this is one of the most historically significant communities in America. Not only that, it's black. One of my son's best friends is our next door neighbor. She's an 85-year-old woman. You know what I'm saying? His other best friend lives 2 houses down. A 5-year-old black girl. His other friend 6 houses up. A 5-year-old black boy. Like all the dynamics are here. Not to mention the element of, and I know I'm ranting. Not to mention the elements of what the history of the community is. Again, McCrory Heights. So this was a community founded by H.L. McCrory, who was the first black president of Johnson C. Smith. And what I mean by that, HBCUs were largely founded and financed by the Methodist Church. And they would, of course, run it, for typical white people stuff. They want to run it and keep their eyes on it until, So, the first black president they hired was H.L. McCrory. And H.L. McCrory knew that black people, well-to-do, couldn't really live many other places in the city. And he wanted to he wanted to develop a community where professionals and professors could all live. And it was right down the street from Johnson C. Smith, where he was the president. And he called it McCrory Heights. Now he bought this land in 1914, and the city didn't want him to do this. And they took the land from him. They took, I forgot how, 11 or 12 acres so they could put the best water plant there. They didn't have to, but they wanted to, just to try to slow him down.
Yeah.
So McCrory Heights wasn't developed to the late 40s, you know, and it became a think tank. Like Dr. Reginald Hawkins is here. He's one of the civil rights leaders and activists that has one of the deepest resumes you can imagine, but you never heard of him because he's from Charlotte. Charlotte is great at marginalizing its history. His house was bombed by the Klan. The divot is still in his yard right now. He was the first Black man to run for governor post-Reconstruction. Martin Luther King stayed at his house when he was on his gubernatorial campaign multiple times. And he was supposed to come he was supposed to spend the night I forgot what day it was, but he got an urgent message, a telegraph, saying he was needed for a sanitation worker strike in Memphis. So he had to postpone the trip. And guess what happened? Yeah. He was assassinated. So Martin Luther King literally could have been off Beatty-Ford Road at the time of his death, but he was called there to be assassinated. But little stories like that. My neighbor behind us, he's passed, but his name was Thomas Weish. Thomas Weish, 10 years before Rosa Parks, sued the city of Charlotte and Revolution Golf Course because they were not allowed to go to the clubhouse after shooting a round of golf. And it took them 7 years to rule on that case, but he eventually won. He was so airtight. He was the first attorney the NAACP ever hired. Wow. So, you know, and again, this is a desegregation case in the 50s, the early 50s. And why that's so important to me, while I, you know, have so much reverence for Dr. King and Malcolm X, my son's middle name is Garvey, for Marcus Garvey. While I have so much reverence for those guys, I can show him Thomas Weish's house from, you know, his back window. You see what I'm saying? You see why that matters? Yeah. So you can make a difference from where you are. It was great people who, we ain't got to go to New York to see. Well, we can, but you know, Malcolm X is in Harlem. Martin was in Atlanta. Yeah. Marcus Garvey was in New York, then London and Jamaica. Well, look, let's just walk down the street. This is what this man did from his home. Yeah. So when I'm building his confidence, I can show him, no, you had great people right around you. Yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, Thomas Weish, his granddaughter stay in the house right now. Yeah, let's look at these pictures. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like all of that means something in development.
It means something. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No.
No. I was just saying, man. Like again, we talking to Winston Robinson. I'm gonna say the historian. You know what I'm saying? The creative leader here on Happy Hill the podcast. Finish what you start. And Winston, as you was speaking, man. Again, as you mentioned, as far as the appreciation of where you came from. You know what I'm saying? And taking pride into those things there, you know, and having a way to pass those things down, you know, as you said before, talking to your son and making those connections, you know, where, hey, we can talk about these big heroes that we read, or hopefully they read in school, but we know we have to kind of tell them about especially Black leaders, but then we can also really take it this macro of a view and really make it into a microcosm of, hey, here's what leaders are in your backyard, you know, that has connected with these individuals, man. And I'm curious, man, to know your thoughts, especially around now. The climate is all about inclusion and diversity. You know what I'm saying? And I'm wondering, how do you think about that, especially when it comes to neighborhoods, you know, as far as inclusion, diversity? Does it provide a more ability to enhance it, you know, to where it can have more resource, or is it too watered down, you know, around inclusion and diversity in this climate that we're in now. That certain things need to be more specific to individuals that look like me, you know, and individuals that have the same background as I have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I will say this: diversity is good. Just
Mm-hmm.
put it out there.
Yeah.
What I will also say is, it's weird to me that it seems like, from a surface level, only Black people ask for diversity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what diversity also seems to be is allowing non-Black people into white spaces.
Mhm.
It's never like, I've never seen the TV show where the diversity is not, you got a Black friend, let's take them to these bars. All right, take your white friend to the club. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm yet to see that TV show.
Mm-hmm.
When Aisha Tyler was on the cast of Friends, they never went to her house. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They didn't show her Black friend the Black mama, and that's what I mean. Like, on the surface, like, oh man, Friends, they're Friends. The sitcom is now diverse, because not really.
Yeah.
You're just bringing a Black person to fulfill a white ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Let's show different cultures.
Yeah.
So if the diversity isn't authentic, or if the diversity feels unnatural, I don't know if I am a proponent for it.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to feel engaged and accepting of that, the idea of diversity, meaning all things.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, non-white people entering white spaces. It's everybody going everywhere.
Everybody going everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things.
Organically.
Definitely. I agree with that, man, because it has become over the years, and you can say maybe George Floyd was the catalyst to really get corporate America on this whole inclusion and diversity thing, but with that, it's like, it's more of, sometimes I feel, ill intentions, around it.
Yeah, it's
You
so
know?
everything is, you have to vet everything.
Yeah.
For example, after that, George Floyd situation was a window opening.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be, and I'm sure in some cases there was, changes up and down the road. But I have a homegirl who was a part of that George Floyd wave of just cultural shifting within organization. So she got hired to be chief of diversity, some title that they basically made up after the George Floyd situation. But they made her higher up, gave her a higher salary, and she went in there and she did the job and made these recommendations internally for the organization. You know what happened? They fired her. You know why? Because she actually did her job. And what they didn't want her to do the job. They still wanted to operate the way they were doing. They just needed a token to sit back there and do nothing and take that money. So, to look like, oh yeah, man, this company's really doing
it's really diverse, but
oh
it's
yeah,
really
they
the
really
same
got
whole
it
thing.
going together. They really shifted. No. They could afford to pay to just keep the same racist behavior. So when they get called out on it, it's like, no, look, there you go. That's a chief of diversity and inclusion officer. So, and it's a lot of scenarios like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people, it's a lot of companies out here hiring Billy Ray Valentine from Trading Spaces. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all a charade. It's all it's all just to make a surface level appearance.
Yeah.
To feel like it's real when it's actually not. Like, people feel like they need a seat at the table, but they get to the table and realize this ain't the right table. There's a different table. There are multiple tables, or this table isn't real. So, it is.
What's your thoughts about, like, the whole, how can I put this? This talk, this phrase around having a seat at the table. And again, to your point, is almost where we need to say, bump the table and let's create our own table, and again, knowing what I mean by that, let me rephrase that. Part of it is we know where the resources go. So we need certain, I'll call it, allies to form with us in order for us to have some resources or to have access to certain resources. But at the same time, is it so much that we're dependent on the other table that we lose sight on our table that we need to form as well?
So if you would have asked me that at 25, I would say, yeah, make our own table.
Yeah.
At 40, you realize these same racist system and structures, you're dependent on them. You live in America, so you're very much a part of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't ignore them,
Mm-hmm.
So either way, it's so twisted. Like whether we're talking about organizational structures like corporations, or we're talking about civic structures like local government. Mm-hmm. And one example of this is Ahmaud Arbery. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
And if you remember the early reports of that story, those two dudes are just about to get away with it. They knew the district attorney. Yeah. They knew the officers. It was just like, all right, black dude died, whatever.
Yeah.
It took a national spotlight to really get down to it and resolve that. But the thing that shocked me so much about that entire scenario is learning that Brunswick, Georgia, where this happened, is nearly 85% black. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And if it's just like Eastern North Carolina. So if a town, and I'm just assuming this, I don't know this at all, but if a town is 85% black, that probably means at least 10% are poor and Latinx. Mm-hmm. So that means that's probably less than 5% white people. Yeah. Yet they run that entire town. They run all of that so well that they could literally get away with murder. And how many Brunswick, Georgias are there throughout the entire Southeast? Or just the entire nation, period? Yeah. So is that a situation where you very much need to be a part of it? You very much need to be? Yes. Do I understand the amount of hopelessness and despair that will create a situation where you just feel like, you know what, just forget it all? Also, yes. Yeah. I just left Wilmington last weekend. Me and my homeboys went on a fishing trip. Wilmington is one of the most per capita violent cities in the state. But when you look at the history of it, from 1898, you understand exactly why the structure of Wilmington is what it is. And if you drive around Wilmington, matter of fact, the state, bro, I can ramble. So
yeah,
stop.
Come on. No, you could.
But the thing is not only these people are are placed in impossible situations, but the oppressors are celebrated. If drive around Wilmington, the word or the name Keenan is on everything. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm a Carolina fan. Grew up Carolina fan. Just, I live in North Carolina, so it's kind of by default. If you go to a football game at Carolina right now, you know where they play? Kenan Stadium. William Moran Keenan. That's one of the organizers of the 1898 massacre. Yeah. All that money to donate to get that name on this building, that belonged to black people. Took their land, took their money, and now he's celebrated for it. Yeah. So if you live in Wilmington, what are your thoughts? How do you feel like you can advance? How do you feel like, I can get my seat at the table? They will kill you and take your stuff. So what are you supposed to do with that? So is a seat at the table important? Yes. But is it also impossible to receive a genuine seat at the table? Also, yes. And that's what being black is. It's a conundrum. Is the answer to both is literally yes. Bro.
Yeah. When you think about that, I mean, and hearing the passion in your voice, man. And again, as I said before, man, I am, you know, really, really uh proud. I truly admire your ability, man, to connect people together, to really be a person that not only talk it but also walk it. You know, that has done so much as relates to informing, you know, like-minded individual of what's going on, you know. And I truly, again, I appreciate that. And to kind of not so much going in a different direction, man, but the things you have done around the city, you know, when you think about a vibe called Fresh, you know, when you think about what you got going up, coming up in April, a lot of things that you have helped to really orchestrate to kind of bring on that new light around appreciation, around making sure that we continue to tell the story in addition to incorporate this new story that is developing, when you think about the certain changes that's occurring, especially in inner city of Charlotte, you know. And you know, kind of just talk to us about what drove you to do those things, and what, you know, what do you want to leave like at the end of the day? And this is one question I had to ask you too, man, but you can answer this first question. At the end of the day, man, when Winston Robinson leaves, man, what you want to be remembered by, man?
Nothing. The world, nah, the world got to move on, man. And I know, like, people who know me personally
Yeah,
think this is the weirdest dynamic about me.
yeah,
I'm loud and boisterous, but I'm shy, and I don't want to be out in front like people
yeah,
believe I do.
yeah,
The thing that drives me is I love to see people having a good time.
yeah, man.
I've never wanted to be famous. The idea of notoriety literally makes me cringe.
Yeah,
I appreciate the value in anonymity. There's nothing like just being able to people watch at a Walmart.
yeah,
So I'm not grandstanding. I know
yeah,
it feels that way, but I do these things because I enjoy people having a good time. And like I mentioned when we were talking in the intro,
yeah.
the value of Black joy is 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 invaluable. It's like you can't
Hmm.
place a value on it. It's so important.
Yeah,
So, and that's what I know how to do.
yeah.
I know how to gather people, make people happy. And I thought it would be a good idea to leverage that to connect Black people to resources that could
Hmm.
enhance the quality of their lives.
Hmm.
And I literally tripped into all this, bro. I
Hmm.
had no idea this would be, the space I'm in. I'm dead serious.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be an activist. I'm not trying
yeah,
to, have any type of my Instagram and all my Facebook, all that stuff is private. I don't want people to be like, oh, that's that dude. No, I just so happen to be able to facilitate these things.
yeah,
Let me tell you how I started it. So, you want to talk about it first, or what it is, or you want to?
yeah. However you want to go, man. You can talk about it, just how it got started, because that definitely provides insight into the why.
So, what Jay Murray is talking about is a vibe called Fresh, and that is an event. Now we scaled into 4 events, about 4 events annually. It's basically a community festival that started from a cookout. We graduated in 2004, like Jay Murray said.
Hmm.
So in 2005, some friends and I said, let's put some money in the hat and let's throw a cookout.
Yeah.
And we go
What it was called again? What the cookout called?
the name of it was the Big Ass Cookout. This was a pre-social media world. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to interact with people, you had to do it in person.
Hmm.
So I know it sounds old, right? Like what? Wasn't no DMs back then. You had to talk to people.
Yeah.
But so we had the cookout. Jay Murray been to plenty of them.
Hmm.
We had the cookout, And it was successful. And we said, you know what, we should do this again. And we had another cookout and another cookout. And we had it until 2015. In 2015, I got a call from the county saying, if y'all had this event again, we go ban y'all from the use of park and rec facilities forever. Again, I grew up Black, militant father, so by the default feeling to think, oh, the man messing with it. They just don't want us to have fun. It was never any incident. It was always just a great time. But what we had later found out is while we were in the park, and these cookouts were at Sugar Creek Park. And Sugar Creek Park, for those who don't know, is about 1/8 of a mile from the I-85 exit ramps. So while we were in the park having the time of our lives, we had shut down traffic on both lanes for people trying to get in because, I'm being cheap. The park shelter we rented was just for 35 people. Yeah. So we have a couple hundred out. It's gonna cause some problems. But so totally reasonable after that. But anyway, I gave it to the county. That freaked me out too, because when I would fill out the application, I would put my mama house phone and address on there. So when the county called my cell phone, I'm thinking like, Lord, they got a special ops team that ain't playing around. And, they got assassins. Don't mess with the county. So, all right, cool. Y'all got it. Y'all can have this cookout. So we stopped the cookout in 2015. My wife and I bought a house in Lockwood. Lockwood is the first single family neighborhood going north of town, between North Tryon and Graham. And it's directly across the street from Camp North End now. So my wife and I didn't have children. And she said, you should go to a neighborhood meeting and get involved. I went to a neighborhood meeting and I left the president of the neighborhood association. I let this guy, Chris Dennis, who's actually also a community leader, he gassed me up good too. He's like, yeah, man, you young blood, you should do it. So I ended up being a neighborhood president. And now I am the liaison to three sets of three entities. Yeah. Now, at the time, Lockwood was deemed by Realtor.com and ABC and CBS actually even forwarded the story. This was the third fastest gentrifying community in America. Wow. And now I'm the liaison between Black people who have lived in this community for 50 years and white people who have just moved there 3 weeks ago. One group felt marginalized, under-resourced, under everything, and another group wanted instant change. They wanted it fast. They didn't want excuses. However, and the city was like, what you want to do, bro? How you want to handle this? I'm like, I don't know. So the thing is, now I'm in this, I was so frustrated and angry, I wanted to know how we got here, like as a society. And it drove me to read two books. One was Color of Law by Richard Rothstein, and the other one was Case for Reparations by Ta-Nehisi Coates, which is actually an article in the Atlantic, but it's like 25,000 words, so that's basically a book. But one thing it did is showed me how we got here via policy. Yeah. So it was exact measures. Like, you Black in America, you can always feel what racism is conceptually. It's a gut feeling. Even if you don't know how to put it together, you know you're being wrong. You know life is different. You know you're being marginalized. So, but after reading those books, my entire life made sense. I knew why I grew up in Wilmore. I knew why my father grew up on Baltimore Avenue in front of Southside Homes. I knew why my mother grew up in Fairview Homes. I knew the systemic conditions that created those scenarios. So, once I learned this, I was so infuriated yet relieved. I wanted to just get on the soapbox and yell as loudly as I could to Black people who would listen. Not just to give them the information, but to let them know, like, ain't nothing wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're capable. This isn't something that is on you. This is something being done to us to get these exact results. And both of those books are based on just specifically housing policy and how it shaped the perils of Black America. They ain't got nothing to do with labor policy and Jim Crow law. This is literally just that small piece of pie slice of housing policy. So, I knew I don't have really a talent. I can't teach it. I don't have a platform. But I knew, I had
bring
this,
people together.
hey, I could do it with this cookout. And one thing I will say I regret, I went behind my folks back who we all put the cookout together. And I was so, I don't want to say ashamed, but I was so afraid to tell them I wanted to use this cookout to kind of create these changes. I just kind of thrusted it on because I knew I could, organize a lot of the elements alone. I can do the graphics, I can just do the marketing, whatever. So, but when I told them, they just kind of went along with it anyway. Like, all right, cool, whatever. But so, and again, I had this cookout, and I knew we were only 2 years away from it. Was it 2 years? Yeah, 2 years removed from when the city kicked us out of the park. However, being that Lockwood is right next door, across the street from Camp North End, we had a great working relationship. We would have community events over there, and I was telling one of the people who worked there, her name is Varian, about this cookout I used to have in my younger, cooler days. And she was like, you should bring it over here. I said, what? Okay. So, she gave us permission. She even gave us the space the first year for free, the boiler yard. And now, we have this space to kind of have the same feel of this event, but now we can integrate things like panel discussions from housing experts, resources who offer down payment assistance, resources that offer housing grants for first-time owners, just things like that. It wasn't many because these were only the connections I made from being a neighborhood association president.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that I was able to just kind of throw together from the idea of having this cookout, but integrating these things I just learned to also have city councilmen there. The mayor was at the first one, just to let people know you were done wrong. This is America. However, here are some resources that could help fix those things. Yeah. And from that first cookout, man, well, we changed the name to a vibe called Fresh. It was 2017. And just by like chance encounters, DMs, it was like a lot of people told me they started their home ownership journey, their first time home ownership from that cookout. So
come
it's like, man,
come on, man.
Yeah. And the thing is, well, I'm gonna tell you, this is the honest to God truth. When I had no expectations of it. Yeah. However, when we started going in this direction, I thought the type of people I would help, I kind of stereotyped. Yeah. And I thought it'd be just single mother down on her luck, just can't figure it out. Now I did help some people who fit that description. However, one of the people who we helped was, and I'm protective of his identity, but I'll share his story without sharing who he is. He majored in occupational therapy. He's from Boulevard Homes. He was the first person to go to college. Everybody in his family was from Boulevard Homes. His grandma was from Boulevard Homes. His mama, Boulevard Homes. When his aunts, Boulevard Homes. When his sisters moved out and got apartments, guess where they got apartments at? Boulevard Homes. So all he knew was Boulevard Homes. But he was, gritty, resilient kid, went to school on full scholarship, majoring in occupational therapy. And that's one of those majors, when you graduate, you can kind of get into some money fairly fast. So he's 21, making about 65, 70 a year. And it's 2005, 2004, something like that. So now he's the smartest and most successful person in his family's knowable history. And every raise he'll get, he got a swanky downtown loft. Bachelor pad, as he should, right? You know what I'm saying? Hey, from the hood, he probably do work. Yeah. So got him, and every time he'll get a bonus, he'll move to a higher floor. But the thing is, I knew this, but I'm not, we all got our own lives. Yeah. He's been doing it so long, this 12 years. And he at the top. But the thing is, all he ever associating with living in a space was rent. He'd never seen home ownership. So it took him coming to a vibe called Fresh to realize, like, oh, I better get this together. He didn't know what wealth meant. He didn't know the difference between wealth and income and, the different definitions of money. But he found out from a panel discussion. Yeah. So he's like, oh, I guess I better buy me a house. So he was capable the entire time. He just needed access to the information.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know. Like, who you supposed to learn from? His whole life is Boulevard Homes. They renting Section 8.
Yeah.
So who taught him? Who supposed to teach him about home ownership?
Mm-hmm.
So and that was, that's the one I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are multiple people like him.
Mm-hmm.
He just needed access to the information.
Yeah.
So, the first one was successful. And just like the cookout, we said we're going to do it again and again. And now, then 2020 happened. 2020, my job is in experiential marketing. I travel a lot. So I was just doing this so I could sleep at night. I really wanted to, I was so infuriated and so mad. I just wanted to say I did something.
Yeah.
So 2020 happened. I travel a lot for my job. But 2020, nobody was traveling. And then, not to mention, it's scary. I got a young son now at the time. And the last thing I want to do, and if you remember March and April of 2020, it was super scary.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to do was get on a plane. Then come back home and bring that around my family.
Yeah.
So, just tried to reassess life and say, well, what can I do in this time, this idle time? And I was like, you know what? I think we can help more people if we scale these events. And I started a nonprofit under that ideology. And in 2021, we scaled to 4 events. A Vibe Outside and a Vibe Called Fresh. We had them all on the West Side.
Yeah.
They've been beautiful, man. We got my father, like I mentioned, my father's an artist. So we got, I'm real, I have a real great appreciation for art, culture, and creativity. Yeah. We were lucky enough to have the Blumenthal help us out with some funding, so we were able to do some great things. And it's just been beautiful, man. The nonprofit is called, we named it. It's named Applesauce Group. And applesauce, the name derives from the parental trick. Again, my son is 4 now, so there was a time when he had to take a medicine. He hated doing it. So we would, guess what? Put in applesauce, right? So we use something enjoyable to deliver an uneasy essential. And that's the founding principles of Applesauce Group. Come on over here. We'll show you the time of your life. My bad. Yeah.
Dude, one thing that I wanted to point out, man, when you think about, again, Happy Family, talking to Winston Robinson here on Happy Hit the Podcast, Finish What You Start. Your impact, man, is so critical. It's so wonderful to see your impact. And I'll say, man, you are definitely, this is your calling, man. You know what I'm saying? This is definitely your calling. I'm glad that you're stepping into it. I'm glad that you understand, yes, it can be uncomfortable at times, but man, you got a calling, bro. You know what I'm saying? You got to call him because, dude, I read one of your posts, man, that someone had mentioned. And when you talk about the joy, especially now, I have been meditating more and more on this Black boy joy. And someone mentioned, and I apologize, I didn't have a chance to pull it up, but it was on Instagram, man. He was saying the face on his son. He saw his son's face. This is when you had one of the events, and it was right on Beatties Ford. You had horses out there. Had the rolling rink, and just seeing, he said, man, seeing that joy on my son's face of seeing all these things, right, that he may not get a chance to see that often, and just seeing that he's like going to remember this, you know what I'm saying, for the rest of his life. Do you remember that event we went to? You remember they did this, man? They had people doing that, and I mean, just really right now, man, you planting a seed in them. And I was like, that's it, bro. That's it, man. So I want to give you your flowers now, man, and say, thank you, bro. Thank you for allowing people to feel that joy, to allow people to feel that excitement, that appreciation. You know what I'm saying? That I'm on this side of town, and where I may have been overlooked for so many years, someone is thinking about me. You know what I'm saying? Someone got me on their mind. Someone's like, hey, pushing me, right? Straight pushing me, man. So I really want to say thank you, man, for that, man, because that, when I read that, man, it hit me right here, bro. It hit me right, because it's those moments that's like, that's why we do the things we do, man. Especially when we doing things that's part of our calling. You know what I'm saying? But we have people that say, "Yo, I appreciated you for doing that," and it touches my son, it touches my family. Now he has this imprint in his mind of this event, seeing these black people,
within
white
black,
people,
yeah, within black.
all of, you know what I'm saying, seeing all these different people like enjoying each other. You know what I'm saying? That's the way, and I mean, and really, like, to your point, man, focuses on seeing people that look like me enjoying themselves, man. You know what I'm saying? I do got one more question, actually, too. And just quickly, man, as you mentioned that your appreciation for art. And as I see in your wall there, advertisement, old school advertisement, Newports, cool. You got the light, you got, saying all these advertisement. And again, majority what you have are all is showing as far as the black, saying black people on it. Quickly, man, just I know we can probably talk about this a lot, but man, just your affinity for black culture, especially like the art, man. And it's definitely in this way that the novelty items, man. You put some on Instagram where all these magazines that you have like back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, what did that come from, man? And what's the passion behind that, dude?
I have no idea, but and again, I think it all. My father's an artist, so
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
being a creative is in my blood.
Yeah.
I stopped personally painting and drawing around high school, but that fire has always been there.
Yeah.
And as far as but like I mentioned before, I work in marketing.
Yeah.
So what this represents is kind of a shift in how marketing there was a shift in marketing, especially tobacco with vices, tobacco and alcohol products that happened during the Civil Rights Act. So you can't see it, but the first, let me see if I can, you can't, but if you see the ones at the top here,
yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
those are like minstrel ads, and that's the way to tobacco and alcohol ads would, they would just show this big lip black, stereotypes of black people to sell cigarettes. Then the Civil Rights Act happened, and Johnson Publishing happened, and they realized, wait a minute, black people got money to buy this, and then it's an entirely different wave of black joy and black love, and things like that. So and that's and it's kind of a reminder that none of it is real. So these images will make you proud, like, thank you for showing black people with dignity, but it's contrite. It's not authentic. It's just to get your money. And I think that perspective is important to have, not to be bitter, but to always understand where you are. It's not love. They don't care about you. They need to figure out a way to get your money.
Dollar bill.
Yeah. So, I think these things are reminded. I ain't gonna be tacky, but like, if you get one right here, I wish I could just pull it down and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But
you good, man.
Hold on, I'm gonna do it. But look, I'm gonna put you up right here. You see that?
Yeah.
You see the imagery? You see the black people kissing with the
man, the big lips. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that's bull derm. Or can you see that one? Yeah. And look at this. But then it goes to that.
Yeah.
So again, there's
you telling a story right there, man. That's like a little that's a museum, man.
And this is my man cave, so excuse the cheap blinds. We ain't got the
it's okay.
We ain't do the good blinds up here. That's downstairs. Yeah. But yeah, so it just things like that, just kind of give me perspective of the black existence in America. Yeah. And how, how we treat it, how we move forward. I believe that history is the future. Yeah. And people, things adjust, but never really change. So it's always important to understand where some perspectives come from and how they're founded.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
true, man. It's true. Last question here, man. When you think about finish what you start, how would you define that? What does it mean to you to finish what you start, man?
it means I need to do better personally. I am, just to be transparent, I am a procrastinator. I am a person who has a million ideas that never get nurtured. I am a person who sees a task and it's hard for me to say no.
Mhm.
So, finish what you start is something I aspire to do in any arena. However, even knowing what to accept to start, if that makes any sense. Like
Mhm.
to to have and to be able to finish something you start, you can't start a lot of things.
Mm.
So I have to, have discernment,
Yeah,
but I have to pick what's
clarity.
worthy of starting, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, definitely, man. My word for the year has been clarity. So that's
Mm.
definitely been one of the things of understanding. There's a lot of things you can start and hope to finish, but as far as zeroing in on all these different thoughts, right, and zeroing in on what's going to be the best one, man, because you can do. I think one of the big misconception is busyness equates effectiveness.
Oh
And
yeah,
just because
no,
you busy doesn't mean you effective, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So
Big
definitely, man. So happy family, man. Let's give a big round of applause to the homie Wilmoe, Winston Robinson, Uncle West. Family, that wraps up another edition of Happy Hood, the podcast. Finish what you start. I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray. And always remember, you are strong and you were created for greatness. And no matter what life brings you, always love God, love self, love your neighbor. I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray. Till next time, be blessed.
Finish what you start.
Message.